So it's difficult for people to just imagine something which has not happened. So there's a bias in us that just because I have not seen something has happened in India or elsewhere, it's too difficult for them to imagine that this can happen. So thinking the unthinkable is what I think a lot of people are not wired with.
Hey Amit, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. Really looking forward to the chat.
Thank you, Aviral, for having me as a part of your show. And Mazin, very, very good to meet you too.
So Amit, we'll start with rapid fire. If you could be a professional in any other field, what would you have been?
So I've already changed my profession twice, actually thrice, I would say. So
So as today's
from a software engineer to someone doing mobile internet to mobility. And if I have to be picking up one more field, I think I will try to solve problem related to water, clean water to be precise.
The next one is, if you could have dinner with any three figures, who would they be and why?
Okay, so certainly the person who inspired me with my Yulu journey, actually Nandan Nilekani, who kind of played one inning, very successful inning. He didn't have to do anything for the rest of his life, but he played that inning and very grateful. Uh, and he inspired me that pick up a problem and do something for the country. Second person I'm a big fan of, who is a living legend, I think Elon Musk, who does absolutely unthinkable. People may talk about, he is arrogant and whatever, but I think he has courage. He can dream of something and has willpower to really move mountain. Other person I'm big fan, whom I've met only once, Mukesh Bhai Ambani. And I'm just talking about basically people I can relate as an entrepreneur. And even at, again, whatever height, professional height he has been, but the hunger I have seen in innovating, reinventing himself ahead of the curve is outstanding. Uh, so these are the three people I love to again have dinner and whatever meals I can have.
amazing. Very new answers. I think Elon Musk is for some reason a very big popular choice, but the other two are new and good picks. If you could ask yourself a question, if you were the AJVC host, what would that question be?
I would ask Amit why it takes so long in building things.
Okay.
Or do you have somehow a magical answer to fast track things? Maybe that's a bad question. But
I
yeah,
don't think we can ask that, unfortunately. So this is how we
or
make
you
our
can, if
questions.
I were you, I would have asked, what keeps you going? I know this is a very common answer, but this actually question I ask to many folks
Right.
whom I see who are playing for the long inning, and at least answer to that, if I can also I can also give this answer. I would say that if you have picked a problem that is large enough and you are excited about, so you wake up thinking about how to do better on that problem statement. I think that's what keeps you on the crease for long. And yeah, that's the only thing keeps you going.
You seem to really like cricket already. Two
No, no,
analogies
I'm
in
so.
and three in 2
If you
minutes.
ask me further deeper question on cricket, I will be like surrendering. But ask it up coach. But analogy for sure.
So, bootstrap versus funded.
So I know it's not an easy answer. So depending on what you are doing, uh, I would say that bootstrap is always better because you actually get to keep all of the company. At the same time, not most of us are privileged, at least in the country, where any good business that you have to start requires some capital. So rather than you waiting for 10 years where you can internally accrue the money to build something big, there's another path of getting external funding. And I would say that looking at what the opportunities which are in front of us, whether changes are happening pretty quickly. You actually do not have 5-10 years to wait for your internal approvals. And by the way, talking about for a person who does not have who didn't born with a silver spoon, which means
Exactly.
that you have a bank balance from your other generation. So someone who is a self-made, I think raising funding or money from external investors is not a bad idea, so that you can catch the market at the right time and invest along with the time and make something meaningful. And I would also say that in today's environment, the external funding is also one more credibility on your shoulders, where people say that okay, someone has uh, kind of given them money, so they have some worth. So it helps you attracting the right talent. Sometimes customer base, early ones, they say, oh, you're funded by this investor, so maybe there's a there's kind of goodness that comes along with that. So I would say that for people who are kind of getting self-made, external funding is a better path than bootstrapping.
Makes sense. If you had the opportunity to invest in 3 startups today, which would they be?
So I actually also have been involved with some of the startups, and for me, is rather than the sector, I think it's a person most of the time. So people ask me, "What's your thesis?" I said, I don't have a thesis. I like a person who is committed, who's willing to give his 200% for next 10 years, and that's all I need. So if you are the person, and then yes, I can say that there are areas which are closer to my heart. So as I mentioned that anyone who's solving problem related to water, which I think is a overall humanity crisis, but anything which is kind of impacting the country positively, society positively, uh, kind of has my softer part, which says yes, support this person.
What about generalist versus specialist?
So I believe that it depends on once again stage of the company. When you are building, you need a lot of journalists. I also fundamentally believe that skills can be picked up. So as long as you have a good appetite to learn things quickly, and so we call in our word, you know, the attitude, smarts, and then skills in that order. So if you have the attitude, passion to uh, do well, and then you will always have drive to learn new things, and then you have a smartness to pick up new skill set, and skill will happen sooner or later. At the same time, you do need some special skill set also, particularly in the functions where there's a reason for compliance, where you cannot go wrong. For example, you cannot put a marketing person as a CFO. That person needs to know, these are the filings to be done, and these are the taxation, so you should not go wrong. But at the same time, I'm a big fan of generally hungry, smart set of people who are willing to give their 100% to learn new things, and then they become a specialist over a period of time. So making people from generalist to specialist is what actually I have seen working well for me within Yulu, and even within InMobi, where we actually experimented with this whole thought process, and it has worked really, really well.
And finally, what is one truth that very few people agree with you on? Something that you believe in deeply, but other people don't agree with you.
So it's difficult for people to just imagine something which has not happened. So there's a bias in us that just because I have not seen something has happened uh, in India or elsewhere, it's too difficult for them to imagine that this can happen. So thinking the unthinkable is what I think a lot of people are not wired with.
Right.
And that's a precise reason, I like Elon Musk, where he can talk about doing something unthinkable and he does that, which is super amazing. One can keep on making Excel sheet or writing science fiction novels, but this guy is like does both. Uh, and I think it's not a very common thing. People have we all have our own biases. We tend to believe that, oh, this I've not seen, that's why it cannot happen.
So you believe people can't think the unthinkable?
That's what I Yeah, that's what I have observed, including like your community, where they try to figure that, oh, you are X of US or X of India or whatever. Uh, so people are working on a thesis,
Hmm.
and more intelligent you get, more bias you have this. And not to blame my friends who have done MBA, they are the worst. They are the worst because you tell them that, oh, give me the market sizing. They will give you some Excel sheet which they can justify through logic. And when you're building something new, there's no logic, unfortunately. So you have to see the non-obvious, and that's where I think people are not wired. I believe.
Hmm. That's awesome. And before Yulu, you were an entrepreneur. You've been an entrepreneur for a really long time. In 2006, I believe you bet your entire career on mobile and analytics. So you did Analyticsworks and then InMobi. What was the thought process? आपने obviously thesis नहीं बनाई होगी, market size नहीं किया होगा. It's very clear. So what do you do this?
So my entrepreneurship journey actually has nothing to do with Excel sheet or market sizing. Uh, it was a promise to myself. So I grew up in Kanpur, by the way, in a family which does business. I was the first person to step out. I had a huge pressure. So I was given permission that, okay, you can go do your engineering team, but you have to come back. And I'm like, okay, I'll join your business. That's what, everyone has been doing. So I will also do. But why don't you let me go work for some outside company? And I have got an offer, campus offer from, and from a software company in Bangalore. And trust me, I will come back.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the deal. I go for 1 year and I come back.
Every month when I'll talk to my family, they're like, okay, you have to come back. And you are getting this 30,000 rupees. I'll give you 40,000 rupees. What's the big deal in that? What's the big deal in that? I said, yeah, it's a very lucrative offer, but why don't I spend more time? So I'll keep on buying time, and so this cycle. But interestingly, one thing was very clear in my mind that I think I want to be my own. I did not know what does it mean, but even back then, I have that wish that I should be an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship definition back then was not that clear. It was certainly not cool. But coming from the roots, what I was coming from, that was the, you can say, dream I had. So I said, okay, I don't know what does it mean and when and how I will do it. So I put up a timeline. Said when I turn 30. So before that, I should be an entrepreneur. In fact, my last job, formal job, day one, while in college.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's what yeah, precisely. So, and because of that, by the way, I also happened to work for startups. So I had a choice of working for a large company. I did not join that. I joined a very small company in Bangalore. Uh, and you can say that I was fond of working for startups, even back then. And I remember my last job, formal job, my boss who was in the US, he hired me. His name, by the way, also was Amit Gupta. So Amit Gupta is a very very popular name. So he came to India, Bangalore. I said, Amit, what's your plan? I said, okay, I have this plan, but I must tell you that after 3 years, I'll leave your company.
Okay.
And he was very amazed that, we have just, spent like an hour with each other. You're telling me your plan after 3 years, and dude, you're not sane. And yeah, after 3 years, I told them that okay, my birthday happens by the way, in August. And literally in June, I reminded that next month I will be leaving the company. You please take care of your stuff. So I did left. I had no idea, but I had a passion for a lot of playing with the data. So my first company happened to be Analyticsworks, which I kicked off in August. And although that company I ran only very shortly, because while I was setting it up, Naveen, my batchmate from IIT, Naveen Tiwari, he he was looking to move back from the US to India. He said, Amit, I have some idea on this mobile SMS. तो हमने बोला चलो साथ में कुछ करते हैं. So it was more about that I am anyway going this side and saying do entrepreneurship. Okay, we'll be better, do better than me alone. So that's how M Coach happened. And I must say that I was excited about building something cool. We had no idea about the market. There was an intuition rather than actually the actual numbers. And we did start with SMS, which was, I must say, which was a big thing. But SMS was not a business model. So we had to pivot to mobile internet, which was not existing. So you can say that it was again problem first approach of doing something related to advertising on mobile, which happened to be smartphone and mobile internet and God knows what all things we did over last over a decade within my InMobi journey.
Understand. And can you talk through that InMobi journey and why do you think it became India's first unicorn? It was a unicorn even before that term was coined. So I think it became a billion-dollar company before unicorn was a term. So what do you think contributed to that? What did you do right? And what did you do wrong also?
Lot of things wrong. A lot of things wrong. I'm happy to answer give you some of those wrong decisions. But what we did well, I think the problem first approach, where we were never in love with the solution. And so when we started, we were fascinated with hundreds of millions of people having this mobile device, and we had this belief that there is an advertising business model. So why the company InMobi was the name was mcoach. It was trying to make a Google search with monetization model using SMS, and SMS did not work. So we pivoted from being a search company on SMS to InMobi, which was into the deep into mobile internet. So we were able to take the right call of, you can say, picking up to the right solution and product market fit. So we were not getting hung up with, oh, this is my this is the only thing I want to do, and we have an ego with that. Second big decision we actually took, that we started the business in India, but very soon we realized that India market is very, very small with respect to advertising in a general. And then you're trying to do something new and cool, technology led. That was not the time, 2007. So we kind of expanded ourselves to Southeast Asia. Uh, Even back then, it was a very interesting decision. A lot of Indian companies had inclination to do something in the US, but we thought that if we go do something in the US, we will be just dying because Google is there. A lot of big companies are there. So we actually so we did a east to west in terms of GTM, and that actually worked really well for us. So while there were a lot of companies getting started at getting killed, so they were almost like a dogfight. But InMobi basically started building business, and brick by brick we started winning the East, and we became undisputed leader in the Asian continents. In the same league, we basically also entered China, where everyone said, China, who goes to China? We said, oh, we know we are Indian. We understand the complexity of dealing with so many moving parts. So that went well. And overall, the belief that InMobi also, by the way, has this belief that it's always people first, and then product and profit will happen. So we were able to build exceptional people, exceptional team within InMobi, and people who would come work for us at 70% pay cut, because they were just driven by our mission and what we're trying to do. And then we were able to build a world class product sitting in India, which was not the norm. So there was Infosys Wipro who will make very good product for customers sitting in the US, but InMobi did product for the world, which I think was pretty unique back then. And after that, the profit happened. So company was actually B2B. So while we were into advertising business, but we didn't have to advertise or spend marketing money about promoting InMobi. So that worked well. And the discipline of leveraging technology scale, global scale with Indian cost, that actually helped company gain the right amount of profitability and all the financial metrics. So that's why InMobi not only became a unicorn, but became the profitable unicorn. So that was kind of the story over there. And as far as the mistakes, if you want to hear, I think the mistakes which I personally regret is again related to people. So we ended up hiring, and Mazin, to your point, we hired for skills. So we ended up hiring some very, very super hot, talent in terms of the badges, what they were wearing. That, oh, I am SVP of blah, 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 all large companies. But, when we hired them, they could not just make it work. They did not have hunger. They were like so entitled, and they could not, they did not know how to work with a startup, that too in the context of India. Because back then, and we were building business outside of India, and we did not enjoy that level of respect what we used to have right now. Back then, 2008, 9, 10. So it's a country we were not looked upon with that seriousness and with that respect. And you're trying to hire a local person who has his own ego, his or her own ego, uh, and sometimes it was a bad hire. And when you do a bad hiring in a senior role, it actually takes you back by at least 1 year. And then you have a lot of such bad memories. They also kind of mentally drain you, and your ability to do something new also takes a lot of hit, because people think that, oh, you said this will happen, but where is that? So as a founder entrepreneur, you have a belief, but there are other people to hammer you all the time. And any of such setbacks and the failure, they basically ding you, and people have reasons to say that, oh, I told you, don't do that. So those were the difficult, I think wrong moves from our side. And then, yes, there were some learnings. We did launch some products. It didn't work out. We had to roll back from some countries. But those are, I think, business as usual. It happens in every business. So I won't take them personally. But people part, I do take personally. And those are big learnings.
On the people bit, InMobi is also a very good breeding ground for future entrepreneurs. Um, Many future founders have come out of InMobi. So that's also a very good thing. I mean, you said that you made hiring mistakes, but you also made a really good hiring decisions too. Any sense on why it was such a good culture for future?
Yeah. So I don't know, Aviral, if you have been to InMobi office. If you, so would love to host you, and I can also join you, by the way, whenever you're free. Uh, if you enter the office, you will actually see a sense of excitement in the air. So it's like place is always buzzing. And in fact, one of the culture value system of the company is that you are driven and you are also entrepreneurial. So while not everyone can be quote unquote a founder or entrepreneur, but the spirit of entrepreneurship is something which we value. So when we used to look for talent and look for the people who should be part of us, that was one important characteristic we used to see. Whether you will take ownership to make things happen, will you go for the extra mile? And then company was also okay in failures. So many a times when you take a wrong decision, everyone come and hammers you. But at InMobi, within InMobi, no one will question you. In fact, there was no target system for most of the people, because we knew that the moment you put a target and payout, incentive payout, not target, basically incentive payout, because then you will say, okay, I'll only do X because that's what is written in my quota. And we are like, no, you actually go for X square. And even if you do X by 2, no one is going to judge you. So there is a spirit of, as I say, entrepreneurship, but leading to that, what all things company did was actually very, very immensely good. And then most of the founders, we were very, very hands-on. So a lot of people will work with us directly. They will see us in action. And that actually inspired a lot of people to say, okay, maybe I can also be on the driving seat, because I have been doing a lot of this anyway. And good part is not in Mobi, but the same trend happened with other successful companies. So you look at Flipkart, I'm a big fan, where lot of entrepreneurs came out of that company. And Sachin and Bini Bansal were also like that. Absolutely fearless leaders. They will empower team. They will say, go after that massive, big, big goals. And that's what I think people kind of learned working with us closely. And we kind of got a lot of, we call them InMobi Mafias and Flipkart Mafias, as you know.
Amazing. And so now the transition from InMobi to Yulu. First of all, how did how did that transition go, and how did you identify this particular problem space or this gap in the market?
So just like my 30-year promise, I had a 40 years promise. uh, which I made to my wife, by the way, and to myself, that I will be retiring by 40. So easy one, uh, but didn't happen. And I was telling you that person who inspired me, Nandan, and it was again what gives you joy and joy of giving back to the society. So that led to Yulu. And why Yulu? Because India has so many problems. All of us know, which is the bad part. But the good part is we have so many problems to pick. And I picked one which was bothering me in personal capacity. So when you step out, it used to be 8 minutes ride from office to home to office, and it started taking half an hour, sometime 45 minutes. I said, heck it, ye problem solve karte hain. So we picked up traffic, congestion, and air pollution as a bundle. So that's how Yulu was born. And then I was very lucky, when I have like network of people, friends. When I told this to Naveen Bhai and Mohit and my board at InMobi that I want to do something on this side. First of all, they were not happy that I was running Glance, so I built Glance, which is a lock screen content platform, and which was also like booming like crazy. And I said, I've built the product. I've got important partnership like Samsung and Xiaomi, etc. I think the product is in good shape, and I have promised to myself, let me do this. So they understood, probably I'm kind of itching towards doing something in this direction. So they let me, do that. In fact, they also supported Yulu by being an angel investor in the company. And so and post that, few phone calls and few meetings, I was able to get the founding team in less than 4 weeks. So I was like, okay, my old friends, people I respect and really, really wanted to be part of, the journey. And then we got together, in 3 months, we were able to launch our first product.
Incredible. And I mean, you make it sound so easy. We launched our first product, but how did you crack the manufacturing aspect of it? I mean, it's a novelty product.
So,
Uh, Walk us through that.
sure. So, Mazin, what happened in the case of Yulu? There was one more interesting development back then in the world. So there was some revolution in China uh, where they were using a smart bicycle for commuting. And it was actually kind of becoming a race. With my day job at InMobi, I used to travel to China very often. So, with our operations in China, which I was telling you, which was very big. So it was second largest market for InMobi. And then with my glance hat, where I will actually work with OEM partners. So most of the large Android OEMs are sitting in China, and then the biggest one was back then was Samsung. So I used to travel to Korea and China very often. So I saw that what's happening in China, and when I started that, okay, this is a problem I want to solve, and I started connecting the dots that maybe something of this nature can be done in India. So when our first product was launched, it was not what you see on the road. It was actually a bicycle. And I don't know if you're aware, but India is second largest exporter or makers of bicycles in the world.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
Who
not
is
too
the
difficult.
largest? Is it China?
China is number one. Yeah, precisely. China has been number one for so many manufacturing things. So ended up, meeting someone, uh, one of the trips to San Francisco, who said, "Oh, you are Amit." I said, "Yes." "Oh, what do you do?" So it so happened that this person was running a business in Ludhiana, and then he was in the bicycle industry supply chain. So I called him that his name is Ijab. I said, Ijab, very young guy, very sweet fellow. I said, Ijab, I need help. He said, okay, all of them are my friends. So they were supplying saddle to almost every bicycle company. So he ended up taking me to Hero Group, one of the Hero families, Munjaz family, the owner of that. I said, okay, I have this specification 25 page. Can you make a bicycle for me? Which this features, and this features is it should be sharing friendly, anti theft, and there's a lot of durability, a lot of things. And in the matter of literally couple of months, they were able to make it. And bicycle manufacturing, we also had one thing that we did not do everything from ground up. We picked up a frame which we thought can be molded into what we need. And then there was an IoT. We actually we actually kind of picked the off the shelf product just for the launch. So we just had to do a small firmware on top of it, but hardware, luck, again, thanks to China and the revolution. So we were able to source IoT from there, and we kind of latch on a IoT in a bike, made it sharing friendly bike, and launched it. Software part also, we were able to put some, quickly some engineers, but more importantly, even there we did a hack of body shopping. So we brought engineers to work on our platform so that we can quickly, get the product out. So our whole point was that how quickly we can get to the market, test it, and in 3 months, as I said, we were able to put things together and launch it. And it was not easy. So yeah, I may be sounding it was trivial, but it was not. But call it resourcefulness. When you are on your second journey, there are a bunch of things which comes to you as a good parts. So your good karmas and your wisdom in general actually helps you a lot.
And so, yeah, so you got this product out, launched the first 3 months. What was the initial reaction from customers? What did you guys learn in your early days?
So we launched that in Bangalore, in a small area, outer ring road, near Intel campus. Uh, because of once again, our old friends and a lot of goodness and what we have created. So we were able to build some partnership very quickly. And in our case, a partnership was getting us spaces in, place which are tech parks and the public areas. And the moment we put it up on the market, people were very amazed that what the hell, on using my phone, I can open this bike and I can take it anywhere, I can drop it anywhere. So it sounded like almost like a science fiction. So that innovativeness of the product actually helped us with initial customer traction. And we started doing a lot of business. Having said that, after a couple of months, when we looked at the numbers deeply, so while numbers were clocking up, so we were kind of happy. But when we looked at things deeply, so the customers' usage was not happening, for the office commute. It was happening at 6 a.m. in the morning. Saturday, Sunday was very, very hot for us because people will just take it for 25, 30 kilometers. And we almost kind of, after talking to customers, we almost realized that in India, bicycle for the first mile, last mile is not a suitable or viable product. People will use that for more fun and leisure, but not for serious commute. And it was a big revolution, and we had a choice to make. So we could have doubled down on whatever we were seeing, would have become a fitness company, but we said no. This is not. We started the company. Same point. We were not in love with the solution. We were in love with the problem. So that led to us coming back on the drawing board. We said, okay, we will actually do something else. And something else was that put some kind of power to this bicycle equivalent form factor. Another interesting fact, what people didn't understand in India, almost 85% people don't have a vehicle of their own. Similar amount of people do not have driving license. In fact, if you give a TVS scooty or Honda Activa or a motorcycle to an individual who has not done that, they will fall. So it's not that I can give you a motorcycle and you can be a motorcycle without knowing. But a bicycle is one thing which most of us have done in our life. So from a learning curve perspective, we needed something which is as easy as bicycle. And also from a legal standpoint, we needed something which does not require driving license. But driving license means 85% people cannot use your product. So that's why a Yulu Miracle came into picture, which basically is as simple as a bicycle, does not require DL, zero learning curve. So we were able to make access to mobility almost democratic. And this was a very, very bold, very, very risky move because in India, that you have not
So
seen
you
this.
walked away from something that was working, that people were excited from, and decided
Correct,
to stick to what you believe in, which itself is
correct.
commendable.
And then picked up a product or the form factor which is absolutely unproven, which is not even available in India. And we were like that, what if people think that, oh, I'm going to look like a fool because our vehicles are small. And to our pleasant surprise, which we kind of always believed and hoped for, when we put it up on the road, not only people started using for the intended use case of first mile, last mile, but they also loved it. In fact, we became a race in the country, in the city, wherever we are going live. So people will line up. Everyone from the entire city will line up just to ride Yulu, and it became one of the most Instagrammable mobility product in the country. So if you basically go on Instagram, for example, or YouTube, just say Yulu and look at the number of posts and the way people are having fun and having good time on Yulu. So that was a big bet we took, but it worked out well.
Walk us through the post pivot go to market, right? How did you decide which cities to launch in? I know that now you're quite active in tier one cities, but what was the thought process? How did you go about doing that?
Yeah. So today I'll tell you about like when we have only one customer segment, which is the office goer, what we call daily commuter. And we were also, by the way, only focused on the short distances commute. So we were not basically trying to replace a bus or a metro. There's a fundamental belief what we have got is big city, you ought to have a very strong public transportation system. And we are just complementing that by first mile, last mile. And we were also kind of saying that, okay, if you have to go only 2-3 kilometers, you need not to even hail, let's say, a bus, or you certainly should not take an Uber or Ola or a taxi, which is kind of making our roads worse from a traffic congestion perspective. So a good two-third trips in a city are actually short distance. So this was our playground. So that's point number one. Second thing which we actually got to know and kind of doing some research, every place where there's a public transportation, uh, basically there's a first mile, last mile use case at the peak, and you actually can build a large business. So we picked up the cities where there's a metro, there's a public transportation already in place. So that was the reason for us to start with Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. By the way, we did launch in Pune, but Pune, as you know, even today, Aviral, we are still building, metro, and metro will come. And we are also, by the way, going to come to Pune maybe next year for sure. But we could not do well in Pune because there was no public transportation. But we did really well in the three cities. So that was the point
The
number
last
one.
mile linkages
Correct,
essentially
correct,
understand.
correct. But during COVID, we also found out when each one of us were sitting at our home, we were ordering food and grocery and medicine. So we saw one more customer segment which started coming to use our service, which is like gig worker who is becoming a delivery person for these platforms. And then while we started seeing them, we were like not very happy because my core customer, which is daily commuter, they started complaining for two reasons. First complaint was that these guys are hogging all of the supply. So I never get any Yulu on Yulu Zone because it is being picked up by Yulu Zomato, Swiggy Zomato and all of these guys. The second problem, what we started seeing, which was a software problem on the brand, where some of the users would say that, hey, I don't want to be seen on a bike which is used by, I'm not a delivery guy. I work for Intel, I work for Microsoft.
Right.
And
Interesting.
And we basically solved that problem by having two different avatars. So today, if you look at Yulu portfolio of the product, we have Yulu Miracle and we have Yulu Dex. And Dex as a carrier. So not only we created a new avatar, new product, but we also solved some very critical problem for the delivery individuals. So there's a space for the bag at the back. There's a mobile phone holder. So we actually looked at their word very deeply and said, okay, how can I make one of the best product for short distance or last mile delivery to happen far more efficiently. So now our claim to fame is that on Yulu Miracle, which is used by daily commuter, we are 50% cheaper than the next best option, which is auto rickshaw. On the Yulu Deck side, which is a most favorite product for these gig workers. So first of all, you don't need DL, you don't need anything else. And then instead of you paying 4 rupee 50 paisa if you are using a petrol scooter, you pay less than 3 rupees per kilometer. So we are here also 50% cheaper, for these gig workers. So we are on one hand saving the environment, but also increasing the livelihood by a good portion. And one thing we are very, very proud of that people who do not have DL or bike, they actually are unemployable, unfortunately. And they would have become a security guard or they would have become a construction worker earning only 12,000 rupees per month. But when they take Yulu, they're able to earn 80 to 20,000 rupees in their pocket. And that to me is a very, very big thing. And we almost kind of adopted this one more mission that we are also in the business of improving lives and livelihood. So from traffic congestion to air pollution and improving livelihood. So these is like three things which are kind of motivating us, driving us towards the future.
Amazing. And can you talk us through your scale and how you've grown? How was the pandemic? Um, how has the journey been?
Yeah,
Just from usage, users, scale, whatever you can share.
certainly. So we got electric mobility. Our Yulu Miracle was launched. We after launching it, we raised a round of funding from Bajaj Auto Limited, who was also helping us on our electric mobility journey from day one. And then we started ramping up. COVID happened. Everyone was locked. Business came to zero. And interestingly, a lot of good things happened with us. And one bad thing happened. So the bad thing happened was that there was no money to be invested in mobility startups. Why? Because everyone was like, I am not going anywhere. So they assume that no one else is going. Second thing is, I have $100 to invest, and I'll rather invest in education, tech, health tech, and whatever tech. So mobility was the last thing in their radar. So we actually had no money from new money perspective. But outside of that, everything else was good. So the moment people were allowed to go out, we became the mode of commute, the only mode of commute to be clear. Auto rickshaws were not allowed, buses were not allowed because we are a solo riding machine. So there is no risk of any COVID, and we were sanitizing our bikes every day. So you are always safe when you are on Yulu. And people who had to go out, and we used to call them Corona warriors, and then people who have to go to some some machine shop or some shop or factory because not everyone can of all of us can work from home. So we became the mode of commute, the default, and our numbers came back to pre-COVID numbers in 3 months. So from zero to pre-COVID numbers, we were back in 3 months, and our number only kept on going. So, so COVID not only basically made us believe that what we are doing is absolutely something very, very interesting. We are back, back to business in 3 months, fastest one in the country and in the world from a mobility product perspective, and also kind of gave this new customer segment to Yulu, which is the gig worker, which earlier we did not understand what is the relevance of this business, this segment to our business, and we were not very clear. But the moment we understood, we invested deeply in the product and kind of made that as a very significant part of our revenue today. Yeah, so today we are present in three cities, which is Delhi NCR, that includes Gurgaon, Mumbai, and Bangalore. We have close to 25,000 vehicles on our platform. And this number, by the way, makes us India's largest shared electric mobility company. We are only present in 45% of the addressable pin codes in Bangalore, only three pin codes in Delhi, and three pin codes in Mumbai. So we have a huge elasticity in terms of our growth in these three cities itself. So what we are looking at over next 9 months, we are looking to grow to some more metros. So we believe that in next 9 months or so, we'll be adding 3 to 4 more cities, most likely Aviral, even Pune. So very, very hopeful for that. And we should be running a fleet of 100,000 plus vehicles. So from 25,000, so we are seeing a very easy growth of 4x over next 9 months. We also got our new generation vehicles made by Bajaj, which is the result of a very dedicated R&D, R&D investment of 2 years. So now we are in a third generation bike. So we have a very good bike, and more importantly, we're also looking at hitting profitability in Q4. So a good momentum in terms of wherever we are present. In existing cities, there's a huge elasticity of customer growth, and then we're adding a couple of more cities. And the product which is made for India, made in India, for shared mobility, purpose built by Bajaj, very high quality and profitability. And last year we also did close to $82 million equity round. So that actually gave us a lot of foundational element. Today we also have an entity which is doing battery as a service. So currently it is only feeding to Yulu, but very soon it will be feeding to other OEMs as well. So now we have created two growth engines, one mobility as a service, another one battery as a service, and bunch of things are coming on top of this, whatever foundation we have done. So we are now kind of accelerated our journey quite dramatically on the back of whatever investments and products and platforms we have created over the last 5 years.
Amazing. Super. It sounds very exciting, and a lot of parallels with Elon Musk. Just saying, he runs Tesla not as a service, but sure. I mean, there's a mobility play and there's a battery play already. I think the next company you're going to be building is going to go to space, Amit. So the playbook is there. And I'm guessing EVs were a natural progression for you. They're just like more cost efficient, and you're anyway trying to bring down costs for the form factor you have. EVs are good. Was it very natural for you to move into there, and like you started to even sell these EVs? Is what we understand. Any thoughts on moving from a shared mobility to actually retail?
Sure.
What was the thinking?
So first thing first, just like the risk we took on the form factor,
Yeah,
going electric was also not very cool.
right.
And I was scribbling about intelligent people not believing. Uh,
Intelligent people
so
like us, yeah.
yeah, actually, lot of people like you, Aviral.
I'm sorry on behalf
Yeah.
of.
No, but that's fine. That's life.
I'm not
I
sorry.
have no regrets. I have no regrets because we were supported by people who we needed the most. We didn't need money. We needed R&D and world-class manufacturing efforts. And we were very lucky to have Mr. Rajiv Bajaj blessing us and helping us. So we're very happy with that. But EV was not an easy choice because back then, 2018, if you kind of remember, there was an author who was selling a few units, like tens or hundreds of units per month. There was no Chetak, there was no Ola. So, and there was no purpose-built product. There was off-the-shelf product which didn't suit our need. So we needed a purpose-built, which is small, non-licensed, high quality. So, and then there was no battery pack, there was no charging system ecosystem, there was no policy. So the choice of going electric was not at all easy. And on in parallel, there was one more interesting thing happening in India. There were companies in our space called Bounce and Vogo who were funded by the best of the best, venture capital investments like Excel, you name it, Excel, Sequoia, BCap, you just name it. Everyone was on their cap table, and they were raising hundreds of millions of dollars every 2-3 quarters. And we are like, a corpus of $5-10 million, and we're kind of figuring things out. So we were sometime being asked this question, dude, are you out of your mind? Why you're not using the same Honda Activa? Because you can then grow the journey faster. But we were like, no, we need EV. And call it our conviction on the fact that the unit economics will never work on petrol, but it will only will work on EV side. And also a softer nudge from our mission, where on day one we were worried about the air quality. So we didn't want to do petrol scooters. So we were very clear on that. And that helped. I think that purity of vision and you really walking the talk actually helped. But the path to actually do what is right was not easy. It was actually rather very difficult. So that's answer to your first question. The second question is, I think, how do we see a couple of new customer segments what Yulu is trying to adopt? So as I was telling that Yulu started as a daily commute, last mile, first mile. COVID gave us the delivery person, the last mile delivery. And then off late, we have been getting hundreds of emails and requests that this product is so cool. It's so good. Can I buy it? And we have been like, I don't know what does it mean because we are not in this business. But when Bajaj was, started building our products, I was telling in one of the conversations that we get this request. What do we do? And from Bajaj's perspective, they have Chetak and their own strategy. So they didn't want to digress from that larger goal, but they said, okay, we can make something for Yulu. And what do you need? I said, we need this 5 things. So I think the moment we thought that we can give a product to the consumer, which we can back and we are proud of. And from our perspective, anyway, the problem statement was not that we want to start a mobility as a service company. Our problem statement was we want to reduce traffic and we want to reduce air pollution. Under that ambit, we said, okay, if you take Yulu, then probably you will not take Uber or you'll not take your car. Then probably we are doing something right. And then we said, okay, why don't we experiment with that? So a couple of months back, we launched this product called Yulu, where we are selling you the scooter, but you still basically have to pay us a monthly subscription fees, which goes towards your battery and goes toward the smart, whatever platform what we have built. It doesn't come with a key. So you need to use Yulu app to use it. You need to come to Yuma station, which is our BAS network, to get your battery or the energy need. So, and our learnings from last 2 months have been very fascinating, where people again used to believe that, oh, this show me who is riding this product, and I'm like, okay, 200 million people are riding, your scooters and your motorcycles, but have you been to China? China, 400 million people. 80% people have this kind of vehicle, what Yulu is trying to do. And I said, maybe there's no demand because there's no product. And and we think that we have another opportunity to make one more category. So today, the micro mobility is at least in India, synonymous with Yulu. I think this easy mobility, as we actually would like it to be called, will be synonymous with again Yulu. And it is built using the same platform which we have perfected over last 5 years. It's a very low cost, no fuss, super easy, super fun. So there are a lot of elements which people never associated with a two-wheeler. We are able to bring out those things. And it's just because you want to keep it with you in your garage. Okay, why not take it?
What are the areas you think new entrepreneurs can break in mobility? It seems like such a hard space. You guys are doing so much amazing stuff. If the founders were listening to us, wanted to get into mobility, what would you suggest?
Yeah. So clearly, I think there's a time to get in.
Yeah.
I actually fundamentally believe that what Ather did and was, it's absolutely actually incredible.
Yeah, it was brave.
With the
They were on our
patience,
podcast as well. Super guy.
big fan like Swapnil and Tarun. What they did, same way they did something unthinkable and they stuck with that. It was boring, it was hard, but look what they have done. Outstanding, like salute to them. But I actually don't believe that another Ether can happen now. So if I am one more entrepreneur, I'm trying to become an Ether, I need 5 years. It's
Right.
not easy. And that's why, a lot of companies, and you also must be getting a lot of pitches. Someone saying, "Oh, I want to make another scooter," you say, "Thank you very much," because now that time is over.
Right.
But is electric mobility at the mature stage? Answer is no. I think that's so many unsolved problems.
Yeah.
So you are now seeing people, doing some very good work with respect to the batteries, charging,
Yeah.
and I think there's a lot of innovation yet to be happening. So there will be ownership model which will be getting disrupted. There will be some infrastructure place, and without telling you what exactly the problem statement, because uh, I think it should come uh, from your side. You should not be just chasing some small chotu problem because that problem may not be exciting enough for you for 2 years. So look for the theme rather than what you are doing because you'll keep on growing. So electric mobility, and I would say if the country and the world is determined that in next 10 years everything will be clean, then it has to happen. And maybe it's not just the battery. There may be some different types of fuels. So there's interesting opportunities on that front. So a lot of things can happen around mobility and this energy change. So
Right.
if someone who's passionate about this change of energy and mobility is a subset of that, I think it's a huge future. Lot of money, even from your word, is actually now riding on climate change and energy transition. So it's all about identifying, what you are passionate about, and then you are getting that skills, that understanding, deep understanding as a founder, and going after that. So tons of opportunity. And in general, I think India is not the same India what it used to be in the past. I think now we have a digital, infrastructure as Nandan basically puts. We probably have the best digital infrastructure in the world. Lot of interesting things, innovation actually can happen, which were not possible in the past. And can you pick, some problem which has been kind of dragging us in becoming a developed country? And I think to me there are plenty of problems once again. The problem related to better agriculture yield, uh, better skilling people is also a big thing. We have been talking about a China plus one strategy. There's a lot of thematic points over there. The boring thing of manufacturing with high quality at the right cost is a very under underestimated and very less understood part in the country. So producing a high quality product, is a big thing. And can some of us solve that problem? And then China plus one strategy can come to life, and we can generate lot of jobs and goodness for the country. So I would say, places where where you and I come from. Mazin, which city are you from?
He's from Bombay.
Mumbai. Okay. So yeah, so Mumbai has been a city of dreams and so many interesting things happen. But it is my city, Kanpur, famous for a lot of manufacturing. And I think some of the companies have immense potential. And now lot of people who are like next generation on next generation, they don't want to go to the same setup. They think this is not cool. I'm saying that maybe make that part cool. Bring that quality to the global standard. Now things are so open. Show up in Europe, show up in the US and say I can produce this product for you, same quality and same price. And actually that can be transformational for the country. And the last leg of again my money and the VC ecosystem. I don't know how VCs will look at that, because that's not a traditional 5-year exit type of thing. But with IPO market actually getting better, so one can actually build a large company in 5 years, even on manufacturing. And if that gives a good comfort, then you have money, you have capable people, you have a legacy from older generation of your family businesses or people who have been doing manufacturing. And then this whole global theme of everyone needs one more partner for manufacturing. Imagine what will happen to the country over the next 5 to 10 years if we just kind of put this thing together.
It's a very super optimistic note at which we are using. Just our final question. What's one piece of unfiltered feedback or advice you've received as an entrepreneur that really changed your perspective? Brutal, honest is the best, if you can share.
Yeah. I think from a feedback perspective or input perspective, I actually got this feedback that whatever matters to you, it was not unpleasant, by the way, it was a genuine advice that whatever matters to you, you cannot delegate that. And
It's a good
I
one.
have I have seen this playing many times in my professional life, where I just kind of delegated that something which was very very important for the company or for myself, and I regretted that. If something is most important, I'd rather do it. So one thing what actually keeps me running, that uh, I'm the person who will roll up my sleeves and do things. Doesn't matter how small or trivial that thing is. And as long as I believe that this is the most important thing, then I make sure that I'm personally involved to the last little pixel detail. And that's also kind of giving me energy. For example, this personal scooter brand win, when we were thinking of doing it. So I became a kind of a acting product manager, business manager. I was trying to do everything as a doer, not just as someone who's just have a wishful thinking. So that has helped me at least building some insanely crazy stuff where people needed someone to really walk the talk and show that it is possible.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much, Amit, for your time. Really enjoyed the conversation. It was lovely speaking to you and
Same
very
here.
inspiring.
Thank you.